Let's
Let's
get
get
wild
wild.
with your host.
Hey, I'm Doug Howorko.
And I'm Leanne Campbell here out in BC. This week, we're going to be talking about chapter 4 in Doug's amazing Breaking the Chokehold book. Why don't we start talking about that? Tell us all about it.
All right, Leanne. Hey, I'm really super excited to be here today and share chapter 4 of my book on Breaking the Chokehold, 7 simple steps to bust into the life and business you love. And step 4, chapter 4, is all about mapping your business success. So as we talked about, the first 3 steps is all about assessing your inner entrepreneur and if you're ready and how do you break through chokeholds to design a life and business you love. And if you're ready to go and you're ready to jump into business, I've got some awesome information to share. But I just wanted to first start off with an amazing quote from the guru, Tony Robbins himself. And the quote goes, "The only true competitive advantage in today's changing market and economy is not having a business plan, but having a business map that can take you from where you are to where you want to be." And so that's a really interesting quote. And this is further hammered home from a great example that if you were to ever leave your everyday life and traverse the Amazon jungle, you would have to do a lot of planning. You'd have to get a guide, a mentor, and use a map for the most efficient route possible. And you would continue to monitor and make tweaks along the way to get to your destination. And the same is true for designing a life and business you love in the world of entrepreneurship. And you know what? For most of my life, I've helped over 1,000 entrepreneurs start, run, and operate a business through some great business mentorship and guidance that I have provided that's helping them even get the finance they need and do marketing plans and setting up a business plan. But when it came time for me to launch some of my very own businesses, I was great at developing a business plan. That's just sort of a one-time sort of assessment on launching and kickstarting and unleashing your business. But a lot of the times my businesses would fail. I ran into some challenges and some issues, and I was never able to fully come up with the solutions to move forward and create long-term success in that business. And that's because I actually lacked business experience. I actually lacked how to map a business through the challenges and through a 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, and 4 years, and in a changing economy with new technology, etc. So I failed because I lacked in business experience, not because the business opportunities were bad. It's because I was bad in essence. I just didn't have enough of the skill sets to be able to plan and map further. And I want to be able to share this quote is further hammers home the point that I'm making about inexperience in business people is the result of business failure. And the quote goes, and it's from Brian Tracy, and it says 99% of businesses started by people lacking business experience, they fail within the first 2 or 3 years. And why is that? It's because they don't know how to succeed. They haven't the slightest idea how to make a business successful. They may have an idea for a product or service, but they don't know all the things that they need to know to run a successful business. However, surprisingly enough, 80% of businesses started by experienced business people, they succeed. And so why should this be so? And the reason is because experienced business people know what to do. They know how to purchase their products and services. They know how to negotiate with their suppliers. They know how to raise money. They know how to negotiate leases. They know how to sell and market, and they know how to manage their finances. And in other words, experience is the key. And in order to start and own and run a business, you have to learn how and be prepared. So let me just reiterate that again. Business plans are great for starting up, great for raising the capital, great for sort of kickstarting your business, but they're not good for managing long-term success in your enterprise. And so really what I want to be able to share is, well, how do you business map? And I've got 7 pillars of business mapping. And I actually learned these pillars from a business mastery course that I took through Tony Robbins. So it was really all about, so if you run a business, you have to learn how to really grow and lead. And I just want to quickly share some of the categories of these 7 pillars. And so number 1 pillar, every of these 7 pillars, you have to work on one of these pillars every week. And you got to go through all seven of them on a continuous basis. So Number one, know where you really are in your business. So that what I mean by that is having a map gives you a sustainable competitive advantage because it will help you get to where you want to be. And there's going to be questions that you're going to need to ask yourself, like, why did I start this business? Why am I in it now? How is the economy and the industry performing? Who am I and who do I need to become? And what kind of team do I need? And what are the gaps that I have from where I are to where I want to be? And what are the key goals that I need to achieve over the next 12 months? Number two is you have to strategically innovate new products, new services, and delivery. It's not good enough just to be good. You've got to be outstanding, and you have to innovate new ways that's going to bring new customers to you or create sales. And I've got a series of questions that after this podcast, if people want a copy of my questions for business mapping, I'd love to share that. The third pillar of business mapping, you have to implement world-class marketing. And so, people like to buy, but they don't want to be sold to. And so successful companies, they educate people, they influence, they share values to their customers even before they are ready to buy. And so companies implement world-class marketing and they give valuable information customers can use to build, and it helps you build your expert identity and authority. And so there's a whole series of questions related to that as well. Step number 4 of the pillars system here is you have to create a quality sales system. So marketing is important, but it's sales what creates the cash. And no company can be successful without mastering its ability to sell and generate revenue. And so trust is really key in order to helping out with building a brand and building sales. Number 5, you have to actually engage product optimization and maximization. You have to look for ways with your products and services. It's not always about inventing new products and services. It's learning how to maximize every lead, every sales prospect, every sales conversion. Little incremental changes that you can do can actually generate revenue. And again, a whole series of questions to help you do that. Number 6, you have to harness the power of financial and legal analysis. You have to know what's going on in your business in a financial way. And there's a great quote, the real crisis is the crisis of incompetence. And that's Albert Einstein. Most business owners that fail have no clue what their numbers are, their break evens are, their gross margins, etc. And those are some of the key reasons. And number 7, you have to focus on creating what are called raving fans. And you actually have to have your customers fall in love with you, want to do business with you day after day. And as you have new products, because you've built trust, because you've created success, your customers will come back to you. So you have to learn to add more value to your customers on a continuous basis. So with that said, I have 35 key questions that you can ask yourself on a continuous basis to map your business. And I invite people to get in touch with yourself or myself, and we can gladly share the PDF of this of these great questions for business mapping. Thank you, Leanne. Back to you.
Yeah, no worries. So those are so amazing, Doug. I just want to highlight, guys, while you're watching these podcasts, whether they're available right now or you see this a year from now, doesn't matter. These systems that he's talking about from his book are endlessly providing streams of good thought and preparation every day. Where spirit aligns with that same feeling, I always go back to, okay, so first you got to align with your breath. You got to align with the gap. You learn to discover the witness. Then you worked on your emotional body with chakras, right? These rooting aspects never fail. Those steps that he's using are never failing. The re-questioning yourself is never failing, which leads me into the next thing I want to talk about today. Why? Because when we're holding space for this opportunity for silence and mind mastery with breath and with alignment with your emotional body, then you come into experiencing that gap with discovering your inner genius. The inner genius is endless. It's endless. Like me and Doug showing up today is a joy. So finding that joy throughout your process of, growing in those 7 steps, growing in, showing up with a high vibration, clearing yourself from negative thought patterns, understanding that you have an energetic body that moves you emotionally up and down. It's a good and bad moment, but then you use the tools to jump back into alignment with the inner genius. And that brings the confidence that just allows people to really feel good in your presence, to really feel good in a space where you're offering a service. Because that's what real customer service is about. It's about your vibration. Just like you were saying, people don't want to be sold to, right? I know that every day when I go out, either I'm selling a product for my own business, or I was doing a big, huge event, or I'm selling with somebody else's product I believe in. The engagement is that interaction with that other human. But when you connect to yourself, you do your work on you, you work on your wholeness. That's what, breath alignment's all about. Chakra alignment is like weeding out your garden of emotional imbalance, and then holding space to come into that gap of witnessing that inner genius. That's your consciousness, right? So that's where spirit aligns with business. And then you can evolve through that joy of showing up with your inner child and growing through maturity with business, and growing through the gratitude of, everybody talks about the end goal of business. It's not about the end goal and all the money that you make. It's the interaction of the process of having a really great thought, putting into action, and then the transformation process and the joy that it has an effect on somebody else's life, pocket, stomach, reality, and space. So I want to bring you back into that awareness, when you're breathing with your spirit, when you're just getting into that life force energy. Did you discover something new about chakras? I talked about it before. It's very easy to go and Google. It was something that happened to me a long time ago. But even when you wake up to the rising of the sun, we had smoky clouds yesterday. Then today the clouds were gone, and then appreciation. And what does that lead to next when you have that gap and that genius is gratitude? How much do we pour out gratitude? That exercise, that inner exercise, don't let it be artificial. I don't encourage anybody to let this be artificial. These practices are disciplines to help shift the subconscious back into a conscious state so you can flow with that wave. The same applies to your relationships, your lovers, your reflection into life, how you're enjoying your moment, how you're enjoying your digestive system, and that vibration will attract more effortlessly. Laws of attractions are out there in the world for us to tap into our inner genius, tap into the inner consciousness that we have, who we are, and that beingness. But it all comes back to the little things: appreciation, gratitude. Because when you feel completely connected to your consciousness, you feel connected to your breath, you feel connected to your inner genius, creativity is easy. You're in the flow. All I want people to do with spirit, with business, is get into that flow state and flow with your desires, flow with that beautiful essence of you, reflecting others, loving yourself. And when you're not in flow, you know it. You know when you're not in flow. You're like, I'm here. Okay, so then what do you use then? Use a portal of understanding where joy is, from a lower, sad place of depression up into anger, into good thoughts start to rise, communication starts to rise, and then you're going up into joy. You got to be able to practice these spirit things, even with manifesting all the desires that you're mapping out on your little map, your roadmap, in order to find that inner genius and truly love yourself. So my gift of this week is all about how do you discover the inner genius and consciousness is through that breathing technique, through checking out those chakras and being aware of what that really means to you. If it's color therapy or painting or something creative like making music and getting lost into that one chord, let that be the wave. And then once you come into that wave, also all those 7 steps of the things that Doug was saying about business, you process them better. Your interaction with people are better. You feel more human. You accept that humanness to error. So my highlights this week in spirit and connecting spirit into this amazing talk that Doug always has to share with his book, and I highly recommend getting that book. Get that book. Is the alignment with your inner genius, and that's your consciousness. So rise in love, love yourself. And on that note, Doug, do you have anything else you want to say?
No, thanks, Leanne. I think it's just wonderful.